What's up, everybody? It's the Welcome to the Show podcast brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. The Welcome to the Show podcast is independently produced by me, Manny Gomez, and CT. Help people to find our show by taking 2 minutes to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. CT, what's good?
What's going on? We're live. Some of you might see this video feed, but others won't.
These are facts. So we do have a video feed now. You might see some video on Instagram, TV. We might put it on YouTube. We're not quite sure what we're gonna do with this video content quite yet, but we're gonna figure some shit out. We're gonna put some shit out there. So this heat wave, CT, how are we gonna get through this, man?
Listen, it's raining right now over here. Mm-hmm. So would it be wise for me to just strip down and run outside to
Maybe.
for all this heat that I've endured this weekend? Because I thought I was gonna die this weekend, man.
I don't know how you didn't die. So for those of you who don't know, our family has a softball league. I mean, it's mostly comprised of people in our family, and it's been going on since I was a kid, probably before I could remember. And that league continues. It takes place on Saturdays in Dykeman, and CT is in that league, and they played 2 games in 100+ degree weather. CT, give us the report. How did you survive these games?
So I drank a lot of water, all right, and I also had a couple of beers. The beers were amazing. Mm-hmm. So I advise anybody who's sitting in their sweat somewhere and it's just hot, just have a nice cold beer, as cold as you can get it without freezing it, and stayed in the shade. When I wasn't at bat or when I wasn't in the field, just kind of stayed in the shade. But still, I think the damage was done because by the second game, everybody was kind of out of it, including me.
There was no escaping the heat, because even your AC, if you cranked it up so that your house can stay cool, it could only cool so much. Like I read somewhere that even if you crank your AC to like 55 degrees, we have central air in my house. If you're sitting in 100-degree weather, it's not going to cool beyond 85 degrees, 80 degrees. And it's true. The house was pretty hot, like even though we had the AC on. And we went outside and I had my kids on the swings. I did nothing but push them on the swings, and I came inside and it looked like I had run through like sprinklers. I was soaked.
I sweat a lot.
So I stayed in the rest of the weekend, and it's insane, man. This shit is nuts. Like it makes me miss fall weather. That's my favorite season, is the fall. Like 65 to 70. You know what I mean? Like,
fall and spring weather, nothing beats that. But I'll live in this weather and not deal with winter ever. I'll live in this weather.
No,
I'll
adjust.
No,
man, because in the winter you could throw on a sweater, you could throw on a coat, you could throw on a skull cap, you could throw on gloves. In the heat, there's only so much you can do. Like there comes a point where you start getting arrested if you start removing articles of clothing.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I just cannot stand cold weather. I hate how cold weather, like it feels like your skin's gonna break. It just hits you hard, like when it's really, really cold and your ears just can't take it.
Yeah.
Hands can't take it. I'm like, as hot as it can get, like, I didn't need to be out there playing a softball game, but I could be outside. I could find shade and just hang out, have an ice cream, go swimming.
Have an ice cream. Say goodbye to sancochos and shit. You're not eating that in that hot ass weather.
In the winter, man, it's too much. I
understand, like the polar vortexes that we've been having, where it feels like -10 or whatever. That I get. Like I want nothing to do with that. But I could deal with like 50 degrees or 60 or low 70s. But when it starts, inching up into the 90s, I'd rather the cold weather.
And I just think about all the times I come out of work and my car's parked far enough in this cold weather, and I'm gonna be like, this is it. Like I'm gonna catch hypothermia. Like I'm gonna get it. I gotta no amount of clothes layering of normality. Like I can't put 3 coats on. I'm gonna look like an idiot. But if I have my coat, my hoodie, gloves, there's always a part of my body that's just experiencing that really really cold weather. And yeah, like I'm good. I'll leave that. I feel like if I come out of work and it's blazing hot and I know I'm about to get into my car, it's like a 10 minute temporary
Okay.
torture. I
How
don't know.
about how about when it's hot? And this is the last thing we'll talk about because we're dragging this on this hot and cold weather. The worst thing for me is that when it's hot and you take a shower and you come out of the shower, you dry yourself off, you feel good, you start putting your clothes on, you start sweating immediately. I hate that more than life.
But I mean, I hate sweating too, and I used to hate it, especially in high school if I had gym and I had to sit in my next class after gym and I couldn't stop sweating.
That was the worst.
I hated it, but as long as you don't smell, I feel like the sweat will dry up, you know?
All right, whatever. I got like a D in high school in gym because it was first period and I just refused to dress many times.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
So I was like, no, I don't want to walk around in my fucking sweat all day. Like in the winter when it's freezing out and shit, fine, because I probably won't even break a sweat. But when it was like spring, summer, fall, and you're playing softball or soccer or whatever, nah, wasn't for me.
Yeah. No, yeah.
All right. So we have a lot of things to talk about, CT. I hope we can get to all of it. What do you think? Should we start off baseball or should we just delve right into the baseball stuff and then talk about the other stuff later?
Fill it out, man. What do you feel like talking about? Just dive into one.
All right.
I got a lot to say.
Let's start with the non-baseball stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll get, because there's more baseball content. So, you know, if you don't like the baseball stuff, if you don't like the non-baseball conversations, just go back into the episode descriptions, figure out what time we start talking about baseball, and skip ahead. That's fine with us. But
Yeah.
So I saw this weekend, I was scrolling through Twitter. So on Call to the Pen, my partner there announced that he's going to be leaving soon. So I've been taking more responsibilities on Call to the Pen. I'm basically editing and promoting everything on social media. So I've been on Twitter a lot, and I saw post after post after post after post from people that were at Comic-Con, I guess the San Diego one. And it was all Marvel shit. I guess Phase 4 of the Marvel universe is about to start.
My God.
And I saw that they were remaking Blade. Did you ever watch Blade with Wesley Snipes?
I love Blade.
Okay.
I love the first. Well, I love the first one.
They're remaking it in this Marvel universe. And Mahershala, I don't know how to say his name. Mahershala Ali, the guy who was in Moonlight, and he was in True Detective. He was in House of Cards. He's going to be playing Blade. He's an amazing actor, so good for him. But it got me to think, like, and then I saw that Tom Holland, the guy who plays the new Spider-Man, only signed a contract for 3 years. So I guess they're going to make one more Spider-Man, and that's it for his time as Spider-Man, right? So you know that there's going to be another Spider-Man coming after that. They made Dumbo. The Lion King just came out, the live action. Aladdin just came out, the live action. A Child's Play just came out, the live action. Ben Affleck was the Batman. He left. There's a new Batman now.
There's a new Batman?
The guy who was in Twilight, of all people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Robert Pattinson. There was a new Superman. I mean, I'm getting sick and tired of movie remakes. And it's just, it got me to think, like, is it that people are just fresh out of ideas now? Like, why do we keep remaking the same movies? Oh, how many times do I have to see Batman's backstory, his parents getting shot and shit when he was a little kid? You know, like, I'm sick and tired of it already.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Batman and Spider-Man, there's like the two biggest. You know how many Wolverine movies they made? Not just X-Men movies, but Wolverine movies. There was like 3, 4 of them. So it's like Batman, Wolverine, Spider-Man. Those are like the 3 biggest superhero comics, whatever.
Yeah.
And they keep remaking them because they keep breaking records.
I don't get it.
they keep breaking records in these sales, and it's to the point that people who aren't really fans of the Marvel universe are watching it, and they're becoming fans via the movies. So now you got like these kind of fake comic fans because they don't really know anything besides the movies, but the movies have gotten so big. You know, it's like why do they keep making Fast and Furious movies? I think I stopped watching after 5 or 6, and now they came off spin-off of a
Yeah.
Fast and Furious movie.
Yep.
It looks ridiculous. Like that movie is just tailored for my dad, basically.
It's like the Expendables, but a
Yeah,
Fast and
yeah.
the Furious franchise.
That's what it's become. And I'm like, why do they keep making this? And I just realized it's because they keep selling out worldwide, breaking records.
Yeah.
Do you hear this thunder in the background,
I do.
by the way?
But I think
Jesus.
it adds to the mood, man. It adds to the mood.
Yeah, because it's a dark time for movies. That Quentin Tarantino movie couldn't have come at a better time, damn it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I was just sitting here thinking before, in my lifetime, and the first movie that I remember ever seeing at the movie theater was Batman, the one with Michael Keaton, and it was like 1989, maybe 1990.
That's a good Batman.
Yeah, so in my lifetime, there's been Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck. That's 5 Batmans already. That's not counting the TV show with Adam West, the one where they would do the pow, poo, whatever, all that shit. And Robin was next to him and shit. That's not counting the Batman cartoons. Like I remember watching on TV, I think it was called The Dark Knight back in the day. It was a cartoon and it was pretty good, a Batman show.
The Batman animated series?
Yeah, that's it. That's
the best.
That's 7 Batmans already. Like
count all the there. On top of all that, there's a bunch of animated movies in between. Like there's the Red Hood. There's the Batman Flash, the one where the Flash goes to like a different time zone and it's Bruce Wayne's dad is actually Batman or something. There's a bunch of Batman shit out there and I love it because I love Batman. I really am a fan. The animated series was the greatest thing that ever happened for the Batman franchise. The Justice League animated series that came after that, which like combined all the superheroes. I think Marvel makes good movies, but they don't. DC, I think, makes better animated shit, and I like it a lot. I love it, but you're right. It's gotten it's too much already.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Batman. I don't want to see a new rendition of Batman for another 10 years. I want a chance to at least like let my kids get a chance to see Batman for the first time.
Right.
You know, like in that generation. But I'm good, man. That's it.
Yeah, and that's not counting other remakes that they've made already. Like, there's just numerous amounts of remakes. Movies, sometimes people don't even know that these movies are remakes. Like you said, Magnificent Seven last week, that's a remake. It's just nonstop. Like,
there's another movie, too, that was actually a show.
They keep remaking Halloween.
Like
with Michael Myers.
I mean, there was a Friday the 13th that came out like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and I watched it because I'm like, all right, like it's been kind of long enough, I guess, but not really.
Yeah, like all right, like if you want to continue off on the story, and you know, Michael Keaton is old now, maybe he can't be the Batman or whatever. Maybe you use a different character, kind of like James Bond, but they don't really remake the James Bond movies. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't remake Goldfinger. They just made a Daniel Craig as a new James Bond and a new story carries on. And moving forward now, apparently there's a female who's going to be playing the James Bond character moving forward. That's fine with me. Continue the story, keep it going. But when you keep redoing the same shit over and the Peter Parker story over and over and over again, the Batman story over and over, the Superman story over and over, remaking the entire Child's Play movie all over again. I think it was Gus. That was a nice. I just heard that thunder. That was serious.
It's pouring.
Yeah,
still hot.
There, like a decade, maybe 2 decades ago, Gus Van Sant made Psycho, and not only did he remake Psycho, his plan was to shoot it exactly the same way as the Hitchcock movie was filmed. Why? We already have the Hitchcock film.
Nah, but that's good point because something that the reason why I'm not like I'm not dying to go see these new Disney animated movies because it's the same story. If it was like a continuation, maybe Simba now goes through even if it was just the same story but with the characters in different positions, that would be better. And like I could even think of not a million, I'm exaggerating as always, as we do on this podcast, but with the whole Batman thing, like if they came out with a new Batman movie tomorrow, but it was a brand new story, like there's a really good story where Bruce Wayne goes into the future and he's the modern day Batman, but with the Batman Beyond of that universe. So like it's I don't know if you ever got to watch the Batman Beyond, but how hasn't there been a Batman Beyond movie yet?
I don't know, man.
That animated series was insane. Like it was really, really good. and there's storylines in and out that you could play with, like time zones and shit. Come out with something like that, but I don't want to see, him like get trained by Ra's al Ghul or whatever the guy's
Right.
name is,
Yeah, right.
and then he meets Joker for the first time, and there's a
Yeah.
new Joker. Like, come on, man,
Yeah, I know.
let's get creative. And I don't know, but again, they just keep selling out, and
Money talks.
what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? All right, so the next thing is the Apollo landing. 2019 is the 50th anniversary of the United States being the first to land on the moon. And it got me to thinking, when I was a teacher, my final year teaching, my co-teacher and we conducted an experiment with our students in which they had to create a habitat on Mars because global warming is destroying our planet, blah, blah, blah. We have to find another planet to sustain life. And it got me thinking that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever did, because why try to move life onto Mars when we could just take care of our own planet, try to fix where we already live? We're already here. We can breathe the air. There's water.
Yeah,
There's ice. There's oxygen. There's this. There's that. So
preach, brother, preach.
why is that even like a thought? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you're saying that why is just rain?
Nice.
Just keep raining.
Make it rain.
Right now, there's a family in DR that's loving this, right? They always ask for rain over there.
Yep. And then they go outside to take a shower.
So you're saying, you're saying that why are we still exploring life on Mars or trying to start life on Mars?
I understand that we should be trying to learn more about what's out there. Like, if we have the technology to explore outer space, go for it. Why not?
Yeah.
But why are we still taking the possibility of making life be sustainable on Mars? Why are we even entertaining that? Like, Mars is so far away from us that there's only like a 2-week window where Mars and Earth are aligned or something like that, or a month window maybe it is or something, and it only happens like once every 2 years or some shit like that. So it's almost impossible to, let's say you run out of supplies in Mars. It's so fucking stupid. I can't believe I'm talking about this. And you need somebody from Earth, or you need supplies from Earth. You got to wait months to get this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Here's what I think, man. I think that we are explorers, right? And there's nothing left to explore on this planet except like the deepest of the deep sea, where SpongeBob lives. So I think that we should never stop trying to expand outwards into the universe. I don't think that should ever stop, because I think that we need to just keep pushing the boundaries of everything, right?
so you think that we should, if we can sustain life on Mars, we should try it?
I think that we are not going to be around to see
When that happens.
because I think that they're not going to start. I wouldn't see why they would start sending people over there unless like life has taken care of itself like for decades or something. I don't know. I wouldn't leave it up to chance that we have supplies. Like, there would have to be a group of people that just fly out there and they try to make it as much as they can with the supplies. Then like what they take, they're going to make it with that. But eventually, are you frozen right now?
No.
You're even moving. The last time that happened, the feed froze. But you know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to have to go out there and start it up for us to just even start moving over there.
I'm taking this very literal, I guess, but
And I know what you mean. Why don't we fix this planet, right? But
yeah,
I think this planet's going to be all right.
Like, when I see people buying like cases, and this includes my parents, by the way. So if your parents do it, or if you do it, don't get offended, or get offended. I don't know, get offended. Who cares? Anyway,
I have the
when
right
people
to be
buy
offended.
cases and cases and cases of bottled water and shit, and sometimes I go to these people's houses and they might drink a half a bottle and leave it, get another bottle, leave it, and there's just half-filled bottles of water everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
we got that
like,
here.
do we need that? Like, is that necessary? Can we just, fill a cup with water, maybe, or get a refillable bottle?
Yeah, we can.
Like,
But honestly, man, I think the
do we
planet's gonna
need
be all
gas
right.
powered cars?
Uh, it's not that we do kind of need them because I think that the effort that would go into replacing all those cars or making those cars obsolete, I think we're gonna that's too far. I think that's what India did actually,
But
right?
I think it's possible. Yeah, India's moving toward that, and I think they're moving at a good pace too. I think it's
No, yeah,
possible. I think it's that the oil industry has a lot of money in politics, and there's no incentive for our politicians to say "fuck you, oil industry" because they're getting paid. That's what I think, but I might be wrong.
yeah. You went over my head right there because honestly, I'm not I'm
You're
not
not an oil executive.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I didn't. It's been a while since I've read up on oil and all that stuff and global warming and everything. And I didn't
Yeah.
mean to do that with global warming.
Okay.
Uh, you know, but in my opinion, I think the planet is going to make it. If anything, we're not going to make it. Like the planet will get rid of us before we destroy
Yeah,
this
I'm
planet.
worried. That's what I'm worried about. I want to be
Yeah,
around.
but I honestly think that things that are happening are part of what the planet is. Like it's gonna happen regardless if we.
You think so?
Yeah, I think if we
You think
stop
that this
everything.
the acceleration is a normal, you know?
I don't think that anyone could predict what it is because like what it to the T of what it is. Like you can't tell me we know our gas powered cars are the reason for this. There could be other reasons. Just like we
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
for sure.
Just
I
like we
mean,
don't know.
cow
Just like we
farts.
don't
That's
know.
part of the reason. I'm not even kidding. Um,
No, no. But honestly, like I think that how can we really know? What this planet's gonna end up being like. It's a planet, and we only have one to
damn, that was deep.
to base our to base our predictions and theories and all that calculation stuff. We only have one planet. Like I think that it's gone through shit before, and it's gonna go through. For all we know, we're headed towards an ice age. I think in the wasn't the world afraid of global freezing or global cooling in the 80s?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think there was a campaign the same way that there was one for global warming. It used to be the world was headed down a cooling path. It's too cold. It's gonna be too cold and all that stuff. And that ended up being wrong. So it's like I don't know. I think we're okay, man.
Okay,
Don't live in earthquake places and don't live in hurricane places, and you should be all right.
okay, okay. They predicted
Are you,
global cooling in the 1970s. I'll have to read up on that a little
yeah,
later. Yeah,
political campaign.
word.
Sounds
Yeah, I
familiar.
don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I understand space exploration. I think it's the smart thing to do. Who knows what you're gonna bump into out there? Um, but in the meantime, just take care of, just like you take care of your own house, take care of your own planet. People, be
Well,
responsible.
well, yeah, that's the thing. You can only do what you can. You can't just change people, right? They just
No, you
gotta.
can't. You can't.
No, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Do what you gotta do. I got a bottle of water right here, but I finish all my shit.
You better, and you better recycle that shit too.
We recycle here, man.
You do.
We're hip.
All right, let's start with Bud Selig because he went on the Dan Patrick show last week, and all I have prepared is the sound. My plan for playing the sound is CT. It is 2 minutes plus. Is anytime you want to interject, if he sounds like he's full of shit, or you want to rebut whatever he's saying, just tell me to stop, and I'll stop the tape. You could say whatever it is you want to say, and I'll do the same thing on my end.
Yeah.
But
I
I
might
heard
want to
the
listen.
clip. Yeah.
Might want to listen to the whole thing honestly, because
Okay.
2 minutes. What's 2 minutes these days? You know.
I might interject. Who knows? So let's
Yeah.
take a
Go.
listen to what Bud Selig had to say on the Dan Patrick show last week about Barry Bonds, the home run chase, and so on and so forth. Who, by the way, he was the commissioner when that happened. Keep that in mind.
I can't imagine. I'm sure that you had this was crystallized to you of what it was doing to the game, and you had guys who were doing things they shouldn't have been doing, getting records being honored. But here's Hank Aaron, who to me is one of the true dignitaries and one of the most underrated players in the history of the game. when you had to honor, if you want to use that word, Barry Bonds for being the all-time home run king, if that doesn't hit home to you, I don't know if anything else in that steroid era would have hit home. How did that feel?
Well, it says it in the early part of the book. It didn't feel good at all. It's one of the most difficult. I know I had to go, and you know that Hank Aaron and I have been really close friends for 62 years now. In fact, I saw him in Atlanta last week, and we sat and talked about some of this stuff, as we always do. But how did it feel? Not very good.
So I just want to say real quick, he wrote a book, but I don't know if you know this, Bud Selig wrote this book, and he talks about the whole steroid era and how all this nonsense. And I just want to interject really quick. When he says stuff like that about Barry Bonds, you knew very well what the fuck was going on in the game, and you did nothing about it. So don't sit there and act like, you know, you're wiping your hands clean of it, how you know, it was so difficult for you to go to see Barry Bonds potentially break the home run record. Bullshit. You knew that it was good for the game. You knew that people were watching, and you did nothing about it. So don't start acting like you're some sort of fucking saint now all of a sudden.
Best time in baseball, right?
Yeah, man.
Those late 90s.
And by the way, then it was juiced players. Now we have juiced balls. What's worse? Who's doing it now? It's baseball, right? Like, it just goes to show, like, you know, they're just as much at fault. I'm talking about the league as a whole as the players are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
my
it's
thing
a business.
is that how is it okay? And let's not be dumb. Yeah, I mean, Griffey is on record saying that Barry Bonds didn't take shit, that he worked for those muscles or something. I'm paraphrasing. I know. But the fact that he never failed a drug test,
right?
And you know, whatever the case may be, he never failed a drug test. You don't want to acknowledge him as the leading home run king, whatever, but get him into the Hall of Fame, right?
If Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame, every one of these players, if they're Hall of Fame eligible, should be in the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man. And why I just hate, like, it had to be Bonds, man, right? Bonds had to break, not just break, but he destroyed that record.
Oh my God. Not just that, CT. The year that he came in, that season, 2001, his jersey size was 10 times bigger than the year before. His hat was, I think it went from 7 1/8 to 7 1/4 or something, or 7 1/4. His head got bigger. He went from hitting like 35 home runs to 73. He more than doubled his home run production. Like,
yep.
That's what I think, that's what pissed people off, is that I think people knew that players were taking performance enhancing drugs. But when Barry Bonds just like completely transformed himself, it was almost like Rocky IV when he fights against the Russian. He was the Russian, basically.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts, man. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm curious. He said that he spoke to Hank Aaron, and they speak about it all the time. What does didn't Hank Aaron acknowledge it, like that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall?
So let's hear. He has more to say. I think Aaron and Mays do acknowledge him as the home run leader.
It was Mays. Never mind.
Yeah, but I don't know what they say in private. You know what I'm saying? Let's hear what else he had to say.
Will you allow me to ask you questions based on you just being a baseball fan, not a commissioner?
I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Who do you consider the all-time home run king?
Well, I've never really answered that, but I will say this to you. In my mind, even though Bonds holds the record, and I've said records are records, I think you know how I feel about Henry Aaron.
So Henry Aaron's the all-time home run king, in your opinion?
Yes.
Would you vote for Barry Bonds as a fan?
That's the one I will not answer, because what I've said is I did everything I could do.
What did you do, Bud Selig? What did you do? We have an interview with Greg Stayskull in which he said that he informed Major League Baseball in 1994 that players were taking performance-enhancing drugs. Nothing happened. This is literally 7 years later. Nothing happened until Barry Bonds transformed his body, and then Game of Shadows came out, and then the Mitchell Report was ordered. It took that long for something to happen. Give me a fucking break.
So I think that had something really good to say, and it's gonna come back to me. I'm looking
I'm
at.
sorry.
I'm looking at. Let me say this first, right? Home run king, right? Who do you think is the home run king? But don't base it off who's in first. Who do you think is the home run king? To me, I would say Babe Ruth is the home run king.
Yeah.
Like, he just seemed like, why do you have to be in first? What are numbers these days anyways? Everybody played in a different era, right? I
Right.
think we should always, like I always said, like, I don't think these numbers, it should never be about the numbers, like the final number. We look at Albert Pujols' career. He's not going to be in first place for any of this shit except most grounded into double plays, right? He's not going to be first in anything, but I can still make the argument that he was the greatest hitter that ever played the game, right? I'm looking at Hank Aaron's career. He has a lot of bolds everywhere. So he was an amazing player. I'm starting to think that he was on some shit because every player that's ever had this much consistency this late into their career was on something that we know of, pretty much. Like, every other player you could think of broke down. Ichiro was never the same. Albert Pujols isn't the same. We don't know what Mike Trout's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
Every other player that found that second wind in late in their career, we can pretty much say they were on something, right?
Right.
So I don't think the home run king should go to just whoever has the most home runs. Like, to me, Babe Ruth was the home run king, and we should always appreciate, like, Barry Bonds, who did shit in his era that nobody else did, and that's it.
Yeah.
Get him into the Hall of Fame. It was
Yeah,
an era. Like, you could even consider, juice balls or not, we could consider this era like the era of the superstar mega deals or something.
Right.
You know, that's different. Players are getting paid now more than ever. That to me affects some part of the game. Some players take steroids to get that contract. You know, it's a different era. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different factors that play into how many home runs a player hits. Also, like in the 1920s, there was, I think, 154 games in a season, and Babe Ruth set the all-time record while playing in fewer games than these other players. I'm not trying to make a case for Babe Ruth, but I'm trying to make a point. Then I think it was in 1961, baseball jumped to 162 games. All of a sudden, Roger Maris breaks Babe Ruth's single-season home run record. Then you have juicing, or whatever happened in the 1990s, which allowed Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds to exceed the 60 home run threshold. So things happen, and it's, what I'm trying to say is, nothing was done to try to stop these players from taking performance enhancers. When in 1998, when somebody found a bottle of creatine in Mark McGwire's locker, which is now, I think it's a banned substance, but then it wasn't. But that, I guess that's a precursor for steroids or whatever. People knew what he was doing, but nobody said shit. Instead, we celebrated his home runs. Bud Selig went to the game where he broke the home run. They did this huge ceremony for him. And I just think it's a crock of shit for him to come out now and start acting like, you know, as if he tried to do something about it. Just own up to your shit. Just say, listen, at the time, baseball was struggling. This helped. And, you know, we didn't have any rules against steroids. So we couldn't enforce any rules or whatever.
It's like you said though. Baseball's the only sport. Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. These guys put the sport on a new level in their day when they were hitting all those home runs on steroids, whatever. That time frame, Alex Rodriguez, we should celebrate these guys. Yeah, they cheated, even though everybody was cheating, I guess. But a guy like Barry Bonds should be celebrated. Like, what he did in that time, it's just unheard of. And I just think that if we ever found out that, I don't know, Mike Trout was on some shit, I still think his ability is something that we should be celebrated. You know, and I think other sports like football have steroid users, and they're not ashamed the way that baseball players are.
No,
like, they're still the best athletes in the world. You know, they still help the sport. Yeah, and I think it's weird that baseball just kind of like, it's like a witch hunt for these guys. Like Barry Bonds, like I remember when I saw Barry Bonds in the Marlins thing, and I was like, wow, like they allowed this. Like, it's the Marlins, but
I don't know, man. It's like the Antonio Brown was working with Tony Bosch a couple of months ago. It's not even a story anymore. It's not talked about anymore. If this was baseball, this would be nonstop every single day.
Which kind of makes you question like this juice baseball thing. It's like it's gonna get to a point. I feel like it's gonna be a repeat. Like they're not gonna do anything about it until it's like 10 years down the road, and everyone's cracking like 500 home runs career wise or something. Right. I don't know.
And the thing with the juice baseballs is there's no doubt in my mind that the balls are juiced. Like there's been enough stuff done to prove that the balls are different than they were before. But there's also other factors, which we talked about a couple of podcasts ago, and you guys can check out a piece that I wrote on it on WTTSpod.com. But the temperatures are warmer across the board, and apparently in warmer air, the ball travels farther. So that's one factor that could contribute to more home runs. Another huge factor is the launch angle revolution. It's a fact that players in baseball are swinging at a higher launch angle than they ever were before. They're literally trying to hit home runs, whereas before they were trying to slap singles or bunt, sacrifice bunt or hit oppo. So there's a lot of factors at play here, and the fact of the matter is I did some research because I was trying to do something, but I couldn't really formulate it on my mind. It was too complicated for me. Although the home run rate has increased, we still haven't seen the biggest home run rate increase from one year to another. That happened before. Yes, the players are hitting more home runs than ever before, but we've seen the rate increase at a higher percentage from one year to another. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yeah, you're saying that although we're seeing more home runs, this isn't as big as a leap as it was at another point in history.
Right. Exactly.
Take it away. Man.
And there's a lot of factors at play with that. Maybe the season was expanded, or maybe more teams were added, or you had the dead ball era, so you saw less home runs during that era.
New maple bats became maple, or they didn't have to be ash bats or something.
Exactly. Like in 1969, there was a huge jump in home runs, but I can't really figure out why, because nothing.
Stadiums became smaller.
Maybe stadiums became smaller, something like that. I'm not sure.
And that's what I'm saying.
Something good to investigate.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like I think we gotta forget about if the balls are juiced. It's just a change that happened, but I know the balls are not the same. What was the year that they said the balls became juiced? 2014-ish, right?
2014, 15, around there, yeah.
I know the ball from 1995 is not the same as the ball from 1965.
Yeah.
It's not the same baseball. It can't be. That's impossible.
Right. Well,
no two.
Here's another example. ABO Baseball, the guy that we interviewed, Trevor Oakes, he's talking about how the bats that he uses is from a specific tree in Canada that he doesn't want to tell anybody about, because you can manufacture amazing bats at a cheap price that don't break. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure back in the day they didn't have bats like this. When we talked to David Neff for the Babe Ruth episode, he had a Stan Musial bat, and he wouldn't let us touch it, but he told us how if you were to lift that bat, you would see that it feels completely different than a modern bat. It was super heavy, and it wasn't as balanced as bats are today. So there's a lot of factors that play into the type of shit that we see. So I agree with what you're saying, that you can't compare Babe Ruth to Barry Bonds, and you can't compare Aaron Judge to Barry Bonds, let's say. It's a different era, it's a different game, and there's different factors at play. So just leave it where it is, and just if these people put up Hall of Fame type numbers, let them in. That's it.
Let them in, because stop making it so much about what they cheated. I get it, but they're not the only ones that cheated, and they did. It's like you said, they put up historic numbers that I'm pretty sure you put everybody on steroids in Barry Bonds that was around Barry Bonds, he would have still probably been the best player.
Yeah.
Or one of the best players, and I think that's Hall of Fame worthy.
They're the ones that we know cheated. Not because we have the facts in front of us, but because our eyes don't lie, because the information that's been provided pretty much, makes them guilty of cheating. But how about the ones that we don't know who cheated? Like, can I say with 100% certainty that Ken Griffey Jr. didn't juice, or that Derek Jeter didn't juice? Because when Andy Pettitte came out in the Mitchell report, I would have never thought that Andy Pettitte was taking HGH. You know what I'm saying?
He wasn't doing anything superhuman. On top of that, he was never the best He wasn't this otherworldly talent that we thought to ourselves like, holy shit, this guy is special. He wasn't like Jose Fernandez. Jose Fernandez only pitched for what? How many years did he get to pitch in the major leagues?
Nah, like a couple years, 2 or 3 years.
I can say without a doubt that I think Jose Fernandez is more talented than Andy Pettitte.
Yeah, for sure.
Across all aspects of maybe not maybe control what Andy Pettitte, whatever he was good at.
Right.
I try not to think about it. Those are dark times. But whatever he was good at, that's Jose. We're talking about like Ronald Acuna.
Right.
His talent that's maybe 10 guys in the league that match up to that.
Yeah.
And I think that if everybody in the league was given the same performance enhancing drugs, it still would be Ronald Acuna and everybody else. It would still be Nolan Arenado and everybody else, or like Mike Trout and everybody else. That's what I think, but we're never gonna know, right? Like,
right.
But it's like we can't compare guys, man. The fact that people play in different stadiums, that alone, like, what do we put an asterisk on everybody that plays at Coors Field?
Right.
If Nolan Arenado lives out to beat the home run record, is he the home run king, or are we gonna put that Coors Field thing
asterisk or whatever? Yeah.
And
here's another thing about steroid users in terms of what I said before about the players that we know and the players that we don't know. When we interviewed Eddie Dominguez, I don't know if this came out in the interview, but he had spoken to people who said that up to like 80% of players in baseball were juicing at one point. And other people said that it was a little less or whatever. There's a lot of people say different things, but say it's just 40 or 50% of players. That's still a lot of players that are taking performance enhancers. And the fact of the matter is that most of them aren't doing it because they want to hit the ball further or they want to run faster or whatever. It's to stay on the field. That's why Andy Pettitte did it. It's to stay on the field and stay healthy. Is that any different than Tommy John getting that Tommy John surgery back in the 70s? You know what I'm saying? Like he did that to help him stay on the field. You know what I mean?
He enhanced himself.
Right. So
wearing batting gloves, that enhances your play. Right. The new gloves, the cleats, sunglasses, that enhances your. I mean, if we're being honest, let's strip them down from all the stuff that they can use to their advantage. Whatever era didn't have pine tar, let's go back to those days where things were all the same. And then you have a case of comparing everybody like side by side. But I'm starting to think about these new rule changes. I kind of don't even give a shit anymore because it's just going to change. Things are just going to change. And we're just going to have to. Our time on this planet, in this life, this physical life is limited. In 100 years from now, who cares of what, who cares that Josh Hamilton performed in his thing? Like we're going to care about it. We watched it. That's it.
Do you know what my problem is? It's the lie. It's the lie, yeah. If baseball could just come out and say, because baseball owns Rawlings, by the way, the company that makes baseballs. If baseball came out and said, yes, we bought Rawlings and we have changed the dynamics of the baseball. Moving forward, this is the baseball that we're going to use. I don't think there are going to be some purists out there, some old farts, 80 or 90-year-old men who are going to say shit like,
yeah, they're going to be
that's not the same guy that I bet you Roger Maris could hit 75 home runs with that ball. But I don't give a fuck about the 85-year-old man. I want to attract the 12-year-old boy and girl who want to watch baseball, who want to be entertained, and who are going to be fans for the next fucking 70 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's who I'm trying to attract. Like, I'm sorry, man, but fuck your older audience.
Yeah, man, no matter what you do, you're going to upset the purist.
Somebody's going to get upset.
At one point, at some point, we're going to be the purist. And they're going to be like, you know what? Robots are allowed to play now. And we're going to be like, fuck that.
Yeah, and then we're going to love it. We're just going to keep watching it.
Yeah, I know. Because, like, what else are you going to do at that old age? Like, not watch TV?
Exactly. I don't want to watch Matlock and fucking, what's that guy's name? Columbo and shit.
I just, since we're talking about old age, I'm going to throw this in there real quick. I don't know how the X-Files keeps getting gets newer episodes, because if you look on IMDb.
Yeah.
Is that what it is, IMDb?
Internet Movie Database, yeah, IMDb.
I never knew it stood for that, but if you look, it says 1990 whatever dash, like the show hasn't ended yet.
Oh, because I guess because it hasn't officially ended.
Yeah, so I watched,
because they did a new season recently, didn't they?
they came out with a movie or something recently, but I just finished season 5 like the other day, and I start season 6, and there's a bunch of shit going on that I'm like, where's this coming from? Like, there's a bee monster somewhere. They were in the ice caps or something, and I'm like, oh, are they doing like they're gonna go back in time and then propel for something crazy? And I find out there's a movie that came out between season 5 and season 6 that plays in. Yeah, man, I gotta watch a fucking movie now, man. Like,
oh, come on.
You believe this shit?
That's too much, man. That's too much work.
It is, and you know that movie's long as hell. Like, I guarantee it's 2 hours.
You want to take us into your topics?
Oh man, you letting me lead the way here? Let's do it.
Here you go, son. Take the steering wheel. Sit on Papa's lap.
So Sunday, Francisco Lindor hits a foul ball. It hits a 3-year-old kid, and they left immediately. Had to go to the hospital. I don't know what happened to the kid, but basically, it led to Francisco Lindor calling out MLB, saying that all ballparks should extend the netting all the way down. I think, like, I guess to the foul pole is what I'm assuming. And I'm surprised it hasn't been done yet, because even this season, I think it's already happened in a Cubs game that I saw. Yeah. And I know since the first time they put up the netting in Yankee Stadium, it was because something had happened somewhere. But they still don't have it extended all the way down. I think it's only up until the dugout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's because the fans have anything to say about it. I don't think it's going to... I used to think it was kind of weird to have the netting there, because that's having a baseball hit to you is like part of the experience, but they'll still get baseballs. They'll still get foul pop-ups that go over the net. Yeah. But I think it's okay to leave out screaming line drives to, like a 70-year-old woman that's just out there with her granddaughter.
I agree. You're talking about the so the Lindor situation, and then what had happened before was the Almora one. Yeah, where he couldn't even continue playing in the game. They took him out of the game. He was like breaking down, crying. It was a little girl, and she apparently was released from the hospital. But I was talking to my wife about this. We don't know what the repercussions are for this kid moving forward. Like a brain injury, a brain injury could impact the remainder of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that girl was hit with a screamer right in the head. I think she was like 2 or 3 years old. And I agree with you. Like, just expand the netting. I went to a Nats game in DC last year, and I sat behind the visitors' dugout. They were playing against the Yankees, maybe 5 or 10 rows back, and the netting was there, but the players still threw balls over the nets at fans and stuff. Like, you could still talk to the players, and I forget who I was talking to recently who came up with a pretty good idea. I'm sure that baseball can figure out a way where in between innings the net comes down or something, and you could talk to players and they could toss balls at you and stuff like that. But that's in game, like the most expensive seats in a stadium are behind home plate. There's always been a net there. So fans will get over it. If you can keep people safe in stadiums, there's no reason why the netting shouldn't be expanded at this point. That's what I think.
Yeah, and again, I remember when the first time they even thought about putting netting up, I was like, come on, just pay attention. But honestly, it's not that big a deal. Like, put the nets up. It's not that big a deal, yeah. It's really not that big a deal. And it's not worth it. Yeah. There's a girl that got taken out. There's a girl that got taken out that day that has no idea what the hell's going on, and she's on her phone, and the guy thought it would have been a good idea to take her to her baseball game, and now she caught one to the face.
And now you don't want to see her no more.
Life comes at you fast.
Word. Yeah, in the stadium they encourage you to interact on your phone, like they have the ballpark app on for MLB and stuff. Just expand the netting. Fuck it. You go to hockey games and you sit behind glass. Nobody gives a fuck. You'll get over it.
No one's mad that they can't like potentially catch a hockey puck.
Exactly. Imagine coming at you at 150 miles an hour or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, I guess we're both in agreement there, so there's really no need to continue that conversation. But one more thing about that is that I don't think MLB has come out on any occasion for any of these incidents has come out and said anything about it. They're just
They have. Rob Manfred actually made an emergency episode on the CT. He came out and said something to the effect that the fans don't want it, and that's why baseball won't do it, which I think is a crock of shit because
Just do it.
I don't want to go to I don't want to go to Yankee Stadium and spend $1,200 to sit in field level seats, but you still charge me those prices anyway. So why don't you listen to the fans then? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit in obstructed view seats, but you fucking put it there anyway, and you still make me pay for those seats and shit. I don't want to spend $20 on a hot dog. I don't want to spend $30 on a beer or whatever the hell it costs. So don't give me that bullshit. Your job is to keep the fans safe. And I think that the fans at this point, from what I've seen on Twitter, the vast majority of fans, and I know Twitter isn't real life, but anyway, won't care about a net.
Yeah, like if I'm the commissioner and I take a poll and the poll says no, we don't want the netting, I would still do it.
Yeah, me too. Because what's worse PR than seeing a little girl get hit in the face by a fucking line drive? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, and by the way, if I ever do take a child to the ballpark, he's not getting hit by a baseball.
No, yeah, I know.
I'm just saying. And if I'm sitting in those sections, like, I know that guy probably wasn't expecting it, but
yeah,
as hard as those balls are hit, I feel like your human instinct should kick in, and you should at least be able to, like, you know.
They were really not paying attention, man. They were just like even.
Yeah, and I didn't see the video of the person. I just saw the feed, like whatever the game had showed. But I don't know if there was like a slow motion, zoomed in, enhanced video of it. But
I just remember Almora's reaction, and I was like, "Holy shit, that must have been serious."
He was like crying. Yeah, Francisco Lindor was pretty shaken up too. I think he like had to step out and like say a prayer or something.
Yeah, there's no reason for it.
Anyways, Manny, I know we have a topic there, but I'm gonna leave that for last. Let's talk about Nick Castellanos.
Ooh,
a Detroit Tiger. He is complaining about Comerica Park, and if you guys never played MLB The Show before, what I would usually do is get the best home run hitters in the game and put them in Comerica Park because it's a deep ballpark. So it's like you have fun kind of hitting home runs at a deeper ballparks, right? I mean, what's exciting about, using Babe Ruth in Yankee Stadium and just hitting the short porch? Like the ball can't even travel far. I don't know where I'm going with this. But anyways, he's ripping that stadium for being too deep. And I'm going to read a couple stats. I'm actually going to read what he said. If I could just get this to work. He said this park, and another thing too, this is the only article that I found, so if this is just a hoax or some complete lie, we apologize. I guess we don't
fact check.
we don't fact check. Castellanos says this park is a joke. It's to the point where how are we going to be compared to the rest of the people in the league in terms of power numbers, OPS, slugging, and all that stuff when we got a yard out here that's 420 feet straight across center field? I mean, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. You got the point. He's upset. Yeah. 420 to center field is pretty deep, but here's some other stats. They're in last place in the majors with home runs. 48 of their game. They have 34 home runs in 48 home games, and then they have 55 home runs in 48 road games. So yeah, that's a drop off, but. My thing is that everybo's playing in that field with you guys.
Exactly.
It's not like you guys are forced to play there, and then the other team drives over to a smaller ballpark, and gets to hit home runs with a shorter fence. So what's the big deal, right?
Yeah, I think that Tigers are one of those organizations that like they hired. I think what's his name? Is it Gardenhire? What the fuck is his name? He used to be the Twins manager.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. They're one of those teams that hasn't like progressed with the rest of the league. Like their analytics department is still not as big as the other teams. They gave Miguel Cabrera that giant contract at like the worst possible time, and they're one of those teams like the Mets where they seem to not be able to adapt to the like. All right, like for example, like Yankee Stadium has a short porch in right field, right? So the Yankees are always looking for left-handed power bats because they want to expose that part of their field. If you're the Detroit Tigers, why aren't you finding players that fit your ballpark? You know what I'm saying? Or try to find power bats who can hit that far, or find doubles hitters, guys who are gonna drop it in the gap and that shit's just gonna roll forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no excuse. And like you said, everybody, it's not like you have an unfair advantage because you get to play in other ballparks too. So when players come to play in your field, you're playing on the same level. It's the same playing field. Like, just shut the fuck up, Nick Castellanos. You're gonna get traded anyway, so shut up.
Yeah. So he goes on to say, we'll get on second base or third base, and they'll come up and be like, man, how do you guys do this? We play 81 games here, man. I don't want to hear about the 2 you hit that are questionable. I don't know what the hell. I guess other players are like, man, no, you guys got to play here. Like, this sucks. You guys don't get to hit home runs. Is it all about the home runs already? Like, is that really all we can? And I'm starting to think like it's all about the home runs because you hit a home run and your OPS could skyrocket.
Yeah,
because you get the most.
That's
added
1,000
to it.
points.
Yeah, with a home run. And I'm starting to think that maybe that they only care about the stat line now and how it's going to look. He's about to get traded, so I'm looking here. His OPS at home at Comerica Park is 720, while away it's 921. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Right? Is that... Maybe he cares about that in terms of one day he has to sign a contract and a guy that got to hit Curtis Granderson, who hit the most home runs in his career at Yankee Stadium, 40 back-to-back seasons twice, where he hit 40 home. Yeah. That probably made him look better than he was, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's why these guys are so obsessed with hitting home runs now, because OPS is one of the bigger stats used today.
Yeah.
And what helps out more than a home run? So maybe that's what it is.
I don't know, man.
Maybe he's annoyed because he won't get to cash in like other guys that are hitting 920.
Yeah,
OPS slugging.
I get it, but like OPS. I said, then you have to, as a player, you have to change up your game a little bit. You know what I mean?
Get on base more.
I forgot. I don't want to make this up, but I feel like I heard this at a Yankee game that Aaron Judge hasn't hit a ball to left field yet this year. Is that? I don't know if I can check. I don't know if there's a way to check that real quick, but I'm pretty sure I heard that in a.
I could tell you that the at bats that I've seen have all been through the same hole of second base and second baseman and second base, like that hole right there. All the singles that I've seen him hit have been there, but you're telling me he hasn't hit even a home run to left field?
He hasn't hit a home run to left field, and
that's weird.
In my mind, he's trying to expose that short porch. He's trying to go to the shortest part of the field. So, that's an adjustment that he's making. Yeah, he strikes out a lot and stuff. He's been striking out a lot lately. But
oh yeah, don't I know it?
But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know. I can't stand it when players bitch about shit like this. That kind of bothers me a little bit. So Nick Castellanos will more than likely get traded at some point, and he'll get his wishes. He'll probably play in a bandbox, and he'll put his numbers up. So don't worry about it, bro.
Keep fighting the good fight, Nick. And last but not least, guys, the Hall of Fame 2019 Hall of Fame class was inducted yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Got some good ones in there.
Mariano, baby.
Got a questionable one.
Who? Don't tell me Mike
Baines.
Mussina. Oh, yeah, I know. How about the other guy, the closer? What the fuck is his name? Lee Smith.
Lee Smith. That was also random, too. I mean, maybe because he was a dominant closer at a time where closers weren't dominant. I don't know. I didn't watch baseball back then.
So they weren't voted in. Harold Baines and Lee Smith, and I think those are the only two. They were voted in through through a players committee.
Yeah, I know.
So in those instances, like, you're getting voted in by friends, like people that you get along with. Like, it's not so much about how good of a player you are, which I kind of have a problem with, because I agree. I don't know if Harold Baines is Hall of Fame worthy.
I don't think he is. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and I honestly cannot tell you what stands out. He had a 29 home run season, which you could argue was his best season.
Yeah.
But
He was a good player, but
oh yeah, all-star player, and finished 13th MVP voting, 10th, 20th, 9th. I just don't see what makes this. I mean, we're talking about the Hall of Fame, and I hate the Hall of Fame at this point, right? Because of all the shit that's been going on. But still, it's the Hall of Fame. Like,
I agree. And I wrote an article this weekend that I'm actually kind of proud of because some of my writers weren't submitting shit, so I had to write something spur of the moment, and it came out pretty good. And it was about Mike Mussina and how I think he is Hall of Fame worthy, especially in this day and age. But how I don't know if this is something that I heard somewhere, but I called him the king of almost because he doesn't have the 300 wins. He's almost there, literally. He never won 20 games in a season until his last season, and the 20th win came in his last game, so he almost didn't get there. He didn't get the 3,000 strikeouts, but he's almost there. He almost had 2 perfect games, one with the Orioles and one with the Red Sox. I mean, one with the Orioles and once when he was with the Yankees. He came within 2 outs of a perfect game with the Orioles against the Indians, and he came within 1 out of a perfect game when he was with the Yankees against the Red Sox. Everything in his career is like one notch, like not even a notch, like a half a notch, a quarter of a notch below what the all-time greats do. But in this day and age, I think in this era of baseball, like post the steroid era, I'm going to say, he was one of the most consistent, dominant pitchers in baseball. He wasn't like Randy Johnson, who struck out 300 batters and pitched to a sub-3 ERA every year. But he was going to give you 32 starts a season. He was going to post a 3 ERA, maybe a 2 ERA. He was going to strike out 200 batters, maybe 150, and you knew what you were going to get from him. And that shit doesn't exist anymore, I think.
So in MLB, you have to wait 5 years to be inducted?
Yes.
Wow. So it's been 5 years for Mariano already.
It's next year. Jeter's up, man.
That's crazy. Well, I think in the sense of Mike Mussina, I mean, you could argue if he's a Hall of Famer or not, but the fact that he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer and he eventually got in, I think that makes sense, especially if you got guys getting voted in by committee like Harold Baines, which I'm gonna have to look this up, like what makes him a Hall of Famer, who out there wrote a piece, an article or something proving why he's a Hall of Famer, and I'm really curious to see what the reasons were. But yeah, I'm okay with Mike Mussina getting in, but I mean, I think guys like Zach Greinke have to get in now.
I think Zach Greinke is 100% Hall of Fame worthy.
I think if he retired today, he's a Hall of Famer, and
I agree.
His numbers aren't gonna look as good as other people that are pitching today, probably like Verlander or Scherzer. Maybe they're not gonna look as good.
I think that crop of pitchers, the Greinkes, the Verlanders, the Kershaws, the Scherzers, Kluber came out a little bit later. He was older. That's the last of a kind in pitching. I don't think that's gonna exist anymore. You're seeing pitchers throwing gems being taken out of games with 85 pitches now. It used to be 100. Like, I remember when Pedro Martinez used to cross that 100 threshold, and I remember that being a big deal at the time. And before that, I had never heard anything about pitch counts before. Like I had read a story somewhere where David Cone, I think it was in 2000, threw like 160 pitches in a game or some shit like that. It wasn't even a thought to take him out because he was pitching well. Now we're to the point where we don't let pitchers face a lineup a third time. We're taking them out with 80 pitches, 85 pitches. I think that the Hall of Fame is going to have to readjust how they vote for certain pitchers. So a player like Zach Greinke, if he were to hang it up today, in my mind, he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's good enough.
Yeah, because he's put up some pretty great seasons.
Yeah, he has.
That are all time up there. So yeah, and let's talk about the ones that definitely should have gotten in. Mariano Rivera.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Go ahead, man.
Damn.
That was a good one.
I wish I could. Where's the ball? It's back there. I don't know. Do you see a ball like right there somewhere? Right. Wait. Where's my finger? There it is.
I know where you're going. Hold on. I know where you're going with this. Go for it, bro.
That's just like offense. I don't even know why you would
throw
go
it
there. To me. Anyway, no.
I meant to do this sooner, but then I realized Or towards the end of the episode. No, man, Mariano, I didn't even know that he wasn't a pitcher when he got signed.
What was he?
I don't know. They just, I think they scouted him and said you'd be a good pitcher, and he was like, "What the hell? I'm not a pitcher," or something. I don't know. And I always knew he struggled when he came up as a starting pitcher, but I didn't know it was to the point that in the season that they did, it was like kind of like what happened to Severino.
Yeah.
His second year, I think, right? When Severino first came up, he had flashes of being great, right?
Right, yeah.
And then second year he struggled. They sent him down. He struggled, and then he was in the bullpen towards the end of the season. So it was kind of like that, except I think even worse because
he was bad as a starter.
Yeah, but
the 97, I think it was 97, the 96 season, he was a setup man for John Wetland, and he was, I mean, automatic. He would come in for 2, maybe 3 innings. I remember I think he was in Cy Young contention that season, and he was dominant, man. It's just, I think one day watching a game, it was the Red Sox, maybe Red Sox Yankees, maybe 2 years ago. I said something like, Craig Kimbrell reminds me of Mariano because you know that the game is over when he was coming into the game.
Yeah.
But I feel like last year, maybe even a little this year, even though he just came up, he's kind of lost that a little bit. Like he seems a little more hittable. I'm talking about Craig Kimbrell. Yeah. With Mariano, I feel like there was never a point where I lost confidence in him at any point in his career since he became a starter. So, I mean, a closer from 97 to, well, let's say 96 when he was a setup man until he retired in 2014, 2015, whenever it was. I never lost the confidence in Mariano Rivera. As soon as he came in that game, you knew 99% of the time it was over. And the crazy shit about it is that he did it on one pitch. Like that shit just blows my mind. That in a 20+ year career, nobody could figure out the cutter except for David Ortiz in 2004.
You know what? There was a time though, and I know I'm not making this up because there was a stint. There was like a month. It was like a month or two where he was coming in and back to back. He wasn't sharp, and he would either blow the save or leave the game tied or come out right before he had to blow it. I remember that, and that's what kind of makes me wonder about guys like Craig Kimbrell. Like, can we really say he's lost? I think we got to see how his career plays out, but he needs to adapt.
There was never a season like last year.
No, you're right.
Kimbrell had it, but can you tell me with honesty that you felt really confident when Kimbrell came into games last year?
Not in the postseason,
especially in the postseason. And
he made me, the postseason was, oh man.
And with Mariano, in fairness, with Mariano, the times that we didn't succeed in the postseason when we had a chance to win a World Series, a lot of the times was because Mariano would blow the save. But if you go back and look at those games, it took like extraordinary things for that to happen. Like in 1997, I forget who hit it off. I think it was Carlos Baegra or something. Maybe it was Juan Gonzalez. I can't remember. But in 2001, it took a blooper from fucking Luis Gonzalez to win the World Series off of Mariano Rivera. And in 2004, it took, like, I don't want to take anything away from the Red Sox, but it took miraculous home runs to put this guy away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But
he's the GOAT, man.
More often than not, man, you knew that the game was over when he came into the game.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. That's it. And ERA plus, for those of you who don't know, I think this is a stat that's adjusted for ballparks. Mm-hmm. He's the all-time leader in that. So I know he's a closer. He didn't throw as many innings as another pitcher would, like a starting pitcher, but still,
right?
He's the GOAT.
Yeah,
all-time leader in saves.
I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the closer role or whatever, but as a relief pitcher, he's the greatest relief pitcher of all time.
He's probably going to stay the leader in saves because nowadays Mariano wouldn't be coming out of close games. Even though, there's my argument. I mean, they could have used him in high leverage situations, but it also helped them that they saved him for the ninth inning all those times, is what I'm saying.
But 1996, he was a high leverage pitcher, and John Wetland was not their best relief pitcher. They still managed to win the World Series with him as their closer. John Wetland, I'm talking about. Mariano would come in high leverage situations for as long as he needed to, and he got the job done.
How many did they win with him as a closer?
All right, 4.
4. So I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's using your closer or best relief pitcher in high leverage situations, using an opener. I think we're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. Like,
oh my God.
you're gonna get similar outcomes with both methods. And I personally like the method where I save my guy for the 9th because I choose to use that method. All right, that's what I do.
All I'm saying is, CT, the opener role has netted more wins than the reverse.
Non-opener.
Yeah.
What do you mean, like
the Yankees are still undefeated in opener games? Still.
How many is that? 8?
No, there's been like 10, I think, ish.
That's 10 games.
Yeah, that's not a big sample size, but I mean, in 10 games, they couldn't sneak in 1 win. And whatever. I don't want to get into this again. All I'm saying
this
is
isn't
it works.
about that. This is about Hall of Fame. Real quick, Roy Halladay, is he a Hall of Famer? I think take Messina out of it. If Messina didn't get inducted, is Roy Halladay a Hall of Famer?
I think so.
I think so too, but I feel like we talked about this one day and we kind of agreed that he's borderline Hall of Famer. I don't remember.
I think again, he was a guy that pitched in the steroid era, and another one of these guys that's the last of a breed. Like, he used to finish games. Yeah, the guy used to, I don't know. I mean, I can't pull up my stats because my computer is lagging, but I remember him completing a lot of games. He had a lot of shutouts, and he had a lot of innings pitched. He has that NLDS. Was it a perfect game? It was a no-hitter. Mm-hmm. I think he's Hall of Fame worthy, man. I think he has enough. I'm good with it.
He led the league in complete games 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
That's insane, man. In the day and age that he pitched in post 1998, he's literally the steroid era. Yeah, that's crazy.
And this is what I mean about, like, being Hall of Fame worthy to me is, like, even if I didn't look at the numbers, I know that when Roy Halladay was pitching, he was top 10 pitchers in baseball. So, and that lasted for more than 5 seasons, 6 seasons, 7 seasons. So he was always the ace on his staff, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that, without looking at the numbers, that's Hall of Fame to me. Like, if Trout retires in 2 years, that's Hall of Fame for me. And
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So,
here's what I have to say, and I despise this person with everything that's in me. But if Roy Halladay is in the Hall of Fame, it's time to let Curt Schilling into the Hall of Fame.
That's I'm good. I'm good with that.
I mean, he has more strikeouts. He has a 3.46 career ERA. He has more wins than Roy Halladay.
Yeah, I'm actually.
He has the 3,000 strikeouts, 3,000 plus. Not many. There's only 16, 17 members of the 3,000 strikeout club. Like, that's a very elite. He's in very, very elite company.
And he too has success.
He dominated
in the steroid era.
And he dominated at times. He has that game that'll live in history for all time. The fucking bloody sock game, which I still think was probably fake. I have a conspiracy theory about that. Anyway,
I'd love to hear it.
I think he's a Hall of Famer too. So
I think he's a Hall of Famer.
That's the only problem I have is when you let guys in and there's another guy who has similar or better stats that didn't get in. That bothers me.
And that's why I think the Hall of Fame is a joke for the most part. Like, and what really happens, I mean, it's going to live on through history. All these guys are going to live on through history. If we had the internet, they could just look up any guy that's not in the Hall of Fame or in the Hall of Fame. But in the Hall of Fame, they're going to live out, like, Babe Ruth is going to live on forever.
Right.
There's not going to be a bigger, it doesn't get much bigger than what Babe Ruth means to baseball. So I get it. It means something in the Hall of Fame. But for us, we're going to die in 100 years or so. So does it really matter, I guess?
I don't know, man. I don't want to be 130 plus, man.
You're right.
That's
so I was saying 100 years to make sure that we're nice and dead, you know?
Oh, okay. Like
we're not coming back.
We're really dead.
Yeah. Like we have become part of Earth.
Worm food.
That's all I got.
All right, man. I'm good with that. Here's a fun fact, or not a fact. I don't want to be buried when I die, man. I want to be cremated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to take up space on this earth once I'm gone.
But there's something about visiting a grave of like an old relative.
Yeah, but put me in a urn. Keep me in your house somewhere.
Yeah.
Put me in a necklace or something. You could carry me around. I don't know.
That's cool. Here's something else that I wanted to say back to the Mike Messina thing, and this has nothing to do with anything. Him pitching. You ever know how Fernando Tatis hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning? Every time my dad sees the name Tatis on TV, he's like, "Oh, Fernando Tatis! Did you know he hit 2 grand slams with the same pitcher in the same inning?"
Yeah.
And I'm always like, "Damn, that's pretty amazing." And I always like hearing it it's like I'm hearing it for the first time. But the Mike Messina 20 game thing, I kept my dad up to date with that. Like, I kept him up to date when Messina like won another game and when he finally retired. And I'm like, man, like he won 20 games and retired. Like he probably could have cashed in a 3-year deal somewhere, something.
Literally, it was his last game.
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
That's like that goes to your conspiracy theory thing. That shit is made up. Like,
yeah, it is. And Jeter coming through with a walk-off hit.
Hit, yeah.
Or Jeter's 3,000th hit was a home run. Or A-Rod's 600th home run and his 3,000th hit the same pitcher, same place. So the home run, watch those 2 home runs and they go out the same, wall, whatever, the same part of the wall. But the whole point of that comment that I made was that my dad sees Mike Messina and he'll be like, "Did you know that he won 20 games his last season?" And I just kind of look at him like, yeah, I kind of like saw it and I told you about it. Like
I was the middleman there.
Yeah, I told you about that. That's the stat that I'm gonna be telling my kids.
It's funny with our dads that because my dad does the same thing too. Like he'll tell me the same story over and over again. And I'll relive it, like you said, like as if I'm hearing it for the first time. And I don't know if I'm doing it to entertain him or if it's that I'm really enjoying that. Oh shit, me and my dad, our fathers don't speak that much. They're very quiet, stoic gentlemen. So when they speak, you listen. And so he does that a lot too. And sometimes I feel bad, like being like, yeah, you told me that story before. I'm just like, okay, I'll just say it again. Fuck it.
I feel like the Mike Messina one is like one of those stats that if it ever came up in Jeopardy, like we would get it. But anything else that happens similar to that, we wouldn't get it. And nothing beats like, and I don't know about your dad because I've only talked to your dad about current baseball, like what the Red Sox did, what the Mets are doing, what the Yankees are doing. I still don't know if your dad's a Yankee fan or not.
He is a Yankees fan, but so my father isn't that big of a baseball guy like your dad is.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah,
he started following baseball because I was insane. Like I'd be like in our apartment in New York City. If the Yankees went during Yankee games, I'm screaming, I'm standing up, I have rituals, shit like that. Not so much anymore because I love my kids and I don't want to get divorced yet. But I don't know why I said yet. So they saw that I was passionate about it. So then they would watch the game and stuff. If I put it on the TV, my mother would watch. My mother had a crush on Derek Jeter, and that's kind of when he became a fan. I remember my dad. I think it was the blizzard of '96. He had a liquor store in the Bronx, and this is actually kind of funny. He slipped and fell and broke his ass somehow, so he had to have like some surgery, and he was bedridden for like a week. And that was during the playoff. Was it during the playoffs? Maybe it was '97. I don't remember what year it was. And I remember Alesi, our uncle, would come to watch the games with us. That's when I thought he was a Cleveland Indian fan because the Yankees were playing against the Indians.
He is a Cleveland Indian fan, by the way.
I attribute that time period with my dad starting to like baseball and following the Yankees because we would watch the game together and be cheering and shit, and he kind of got into it.
But that's the thing with your dad. Like when I've worked with him in the past, I feel like I would rip the Yankees and he would kind of be in agreement, but at the same time, like not. So I still don't know if he's a Yankee fan or not. But what I was getting at was that my dad is like, not only is my dad a baseball fan, he's not a typical Dominican baseball fan that only roots for Dominican players and all that stuff. Like
he's not an anti-Yankee.
He's actually semi like that. He's gonna be proud when there's a Dominican player dominating. Like when I told him about Fernando Tatis Jr. the other day, his eyes lit up like, oh yeah, like that's great. But he actually does kind of keep up. He kind of has that common sense baseball trait And nothing beats watching a game and seeing like Willie Randolph in the TV and him kind of being like, oh, like Willie Randolph, like he was a good player. Because he's, Willie Randolph is he a Hall of Famer? No, right?
No.
Yeah.
But he played into the 80s and stuff, so they were here when he was playing. With the
yeah,
Yankees.
no, my dad knows. That's the thing. Like, he doesn't speak of players he doesn't know. But if there's a player that's on TV that doesn't have the heroics of like a Derek Jeter, it's nice to hear like something about that player. Like when they talk about Javi Baez 30 years from now, maybe we're not going to know about his like sliding antics, but like I'll be able to tell someone this guy used to slide like a maniac or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember my dad telling me stories about Billy Martin and stuff like that, because I never got a chance to see that.
Damn, that goes to show. That goes to show how big those guys were, though, right? The fact that your dad probably didn't
really follow baseball,
but still heard about those guys.
And the thing, because he was a drunk and he would do all these crazy all this crazy shit on the field and argue with his players and stuff. He was front page of the newspaper almost every day in the 80s. And the Yankees were, even though they didn't win a World Series in the 80s, they actually had the best win percentage of any team in baseball in the 80s. So even though we attribute the 80s and the early 90s with the Yankees,
the dark times,
the dark era or whatever, it wasn't really that dark if you think about it. Like, there was only a few years where the Yankees weren't that good. They just never won the World Series in that time period.
I say, man, spoiled fans.
Word. I'm not gonna deny that. I think Yankee fans are spoiled. Sometimes they annoy me too, but I'm a Yankee fan, so fuck it.
Hey,
I consider myself one of the good ones.
I still accept you.
Thanks. I didn't wear my Yankee hat because I didn't want to start a fucking shit between us, but you got a shirt and you have a hat on. Like, what the fuck?
I got other hats, man. You ready for this? How about that one?
Oh my
I stopped wearing this shit because this is like a bucket on my head.
This hat is huge on me too.
Well, I have a big head, so.
You have a big head?
Yeah, right now I'm sitting on 7 3/8.
I'm not telling you what size this is, but it's big. Like, my fingers fit under it and shit, you know? I'm not gonna tell you how big this fucking hat is. It's Barry Bonds big. Let's just put it that way. It's almost an 8. Let's put it that way. On a snapback, I'm on like the last 2 notches.
It's barely hanging on.
It's barely hanging on. It's fucking big, man. You know what that means?
Yeah, you know what they say about guys with big hats.
Yep, big brains. Smart. All right, let's sign off, CT. Like I said earlier in the show, please take 2 minutes to rate and review our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We're the Welcome to the Show podcast, by the way. CT and I independently produce this. We finance it with the very little money that we do have. So we would appreciate if you guys can help us out a little bit by writing a review and giving us a 5-star rating, because I know we're a 5-star podcast. What are you going to do?
And we're not too proud to beg.
No, we're not. If you want to throw a couple dollars in there, we do have a Patreon account. If you want to become a patron, go for it. I mean, why not?
Hey.
We'll thank you for it.
Proud to beg.
Word. Anyway, CT.
Peace out.
Peace.